Hey everybody, wanted to take a few minutes today. I'm here with Nate Johnson, one of our members at Pillar, to take a few minutes today to give some updates on big picture stuff. Recently, Nate and I had a conversation about some of the stuff going on, not only as we're reopening or whatever you want to call that, but as we're thinking about all that's going on in the life of our church in terms of meeting in Swan Creek and the building in Dumfries and other things that are happening in the life of the church. And we just thought it'd be great to record a little bit of a conversation where Nate can ask some of those questions, and we'll talk a little bit about that to help you understand how our elders are thinking through and our leadership team's thinking through all those things. So what you got for me?
So what is the plan ahead, I guess, for the children's ministry, and I guess how can we talk to our kids about that too, as far as?
Yeah, that's a great first question to talk about. Right now with children's ministry, we want to be able to make advances in engaging children, in the future as things continue to open up. We're walking through the phases with the Virginia guidelines, and we're waiting to find out what phase 3 guidelines are going to look like from Virginia, which I think will inform a little bit of how we do that. There's also kind of the upcoming thing of in a month or so, schools will be just about ready to get started, and we're going to kind of observe a little bit about what are other segments that deal with children doing and the practices that are involved in that. So I think we're probably over a month out or more from having children's ministries or beginning to delve into that. I think that's probably something that's more likely in August, although will really depend on what we're seeing, with the schools and all of that. In the meantime, I think that talking to our children about the uniqueness of this situation, that this isn't necessarily the way things are intended to be normally, but we're taking precautions because of what's happening in the world around us, and then experimenting with new efforts at teaching our kids the word in our homes is another thing I would say, is just utilizing the resources that we have put out and other things that are available to be cultivating times of family worship would be a really important thing to be doing right now for kids, I think. And then I would encourage you, if you feel comfortable engaging in in-person services and you have small children, I would encourage you to give it a try. Like, give it a shot, come out, even though it's not fun to necessarily feel like you're having to bottle up your children in that. I think we've seen some families who have been surprised at what their kids were able to do. We've shortened the services significantly to try to accommodate that reality and other ones, but I would say give it a try and let the church love your kids, and by being patient and, and welcoming even in a different environment. My kids, I know this Sunday, were very excited to just be able to see some of the other kids that were here, and they went home and were just joyful about having been able to be together. So.
Okay. What's the plan ahead with Swan Creek then, as far as that goes? And is there a way that we can show the information maybe on our website, like a stage? Virginia's doing a staged opening. Can we show that as well? Is that something that the elders are looking into?
Yeah, so kind of two questions there and two ways I would answer it. In Swan Creek, it's an open-ended question right now. We've been interacting with them just about every week, every other week or so, about where they're at. So we tried to see if July was going to be possible for community use. And it's our use of the church falls into a category called community use. Prince William County has not yet reopened community use. And there aren't, honestly, indicators about when that's going to happen. And so it's really hard on our side to know whether Swans Creek is going to necessarily be an option in the next few months or not. We would like it to be. We're really hopeful that that will pan out. We think it's still a really good spot for us to meet and meets a lot of the needs that we have right now as a church. And so in terms, that also makes it a little challenging in terms of like phasing in our approach, because we're not sure entirely right now what our meeting space situation. And so like some churches, and you may see other churches in the community that have facilities in their locale and all of that, where they can think through their phases and how they're going to roll that out, aren't having to concurrently think through where are we going to actually meet. And so we're really close right now. I don't want to make any promises, but we're working at meeting in Prince William County in the month of July at Hilton Garden Inn, and weighing that out with some other options. And I would just say to everyone, whatever July's decision is a temporary decision that we hope to be able to continue to grow in. So it feels really hard to build a phased plan that we can say, this month we intend to do this. We think we'll be here by August because of the question mark of Swans Creek Elementary and what spaces are available in Prince William County per se. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
It's probably not super comforting, right? Like in one sense.
But it's a good. I mean, it's still communication is good. That's what I mean. I think that's what I was looking for. Just kind of some clarity from leadership, and that's good to hear though that you guys are thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah, my greatest desire is to try to understand the guidelines and then do as much as we possibly can in each phase within those guidelines. So I think each time you see new guidelines come out for the Virginia, if you look down through, you'll see religious services in there. And those are usually, there's a lot of information in there, and you can read those. And of course, we'll start as soon as we see phase 3, we'll share that on social media and do a little post and highlight some of what does that mean now for us, as a way of communicating with everyone else.
Okay. So. And then I had 2 more questions. So what can I do to help? What can our members do to help? As far as I'm in childhood ministry. Obviously, that's not happening right now. So what can I do to help out the church right now? How can I serve the church?
Yeah. That's a great question. A few of the ways. One, from this one feels a little bit more passive, and I feel like a lot of members have been doing this. Be patient with us, but communicate. And just you communicating with me in the last week and talking about those things was super helpful for me to know what other people are thinking and wondering. And so communicate your questions. We're happy to answer them and use that as a guide to make sure we're communicating with everybody well. In the next month, in July, we hope to work through a plan to do some life group connections for the church as a whole, because we want to use July and August as things are now where we're able to spend some time together to figure out how can we make sure that new people coming into the church and those who've been present, that our life groups are invigorated, and we think that's been an important part of sustaining the church during this time. So I would say engaging in those and keeping those relationships strong with life groups. And then on a corporate level, we are going to have some needs for Sundays, where members can pick a Sunday and just serve that Sunday, setting up, helping with cleaning in between services. And there's a lot of that kind of work, I think, that is going to need to be done and prepared for in order to serve. The other thing I would say, Nate, is that I don't want us to stop as a church looking at our community at large and saying, here's a way we can serve. Right. Here's a way we can connect. And so I've always wanted to be the case that a member like you could say, I see a real opportunity that we're missing, or that I'm willing to help us, engage in, to do that and to communicate about that, maybe even make a plan to get some other members involved helping engage that opportunity. And so I want us to have our eyes open and not just think, well, there's too much going on, and in the craziness of this all to engage these opportunities. And so I want to get creative about how we serve the community over the next few months as people are slowly, feeling better about interacting. So.
Right, and I thought one way that you guys set up that was really good to engage the community was the Easter baskets or the Easter bags. Yeah. Because we dropped those off into all the neighbors next to us. A lot of them were, fearful of this current situation, and that was just, they were very thankful for those things. It was us interacting with them and trying to show them love that we want to be engaged with them, that we want to be their neighbors and build relationships and hopefully friendships, and hopefully that will lead them to Christ too. So that was an awesome thing that you guys put together that we're really happy about. Yeah. That was just amazing. Our neighbors keep talking about that. So
that's great. And I mean, that's a good example. I think there's other things like that we can do. And I've appreciated the children's ministry did the food drive. We've done some other food drive things and served. But I think just by having eyes for that, we can really engage in that. So I know when we talked, you mentioned a little bit about questions about where we're at on the building in Dumfries.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that next. Yeah. So I know Amanda, my wife, and I are really excited about the building project. I know, I believe it was going to the permitting process this year, and we're supposed to crack ground next year in 2021, I think June maybe.
Yeah.
How's that looking right now?
Yeah, I had hoped for a more aggressive timeline than
Okay.
that. But right now, kind of where things are at is we've been in the conversation with the zoning of the land about
Okay.
how that's going to get zoned and the types of uses that are allowed in certain types of zoning in town. And it's been a lot of kind of long conversations about how to bring the project into reality in concert with the town's guidelines for zoning. And that's slowed us down a little bit since November, to be honest. And I think, but conversations in the past few weeks continue to go well. And I think we're finding solutions for how to position the project as a whole. And we're hopeful. There's a hearing scheduled for September for that, where we should have everything submitted and presented it to the town in a way that the zoning administrator can recommend it to the city or to the town council. And that would really kind of put us onto a much stronger, clear timeline of groundbreaking and opening up. And so I would encourage members to pray for that. Some of that has to do with how we want to, you know, how the zoning works for the building that we would meet in as a church. And part of that is we're constructing a vision with the town to help overcome some of the barriers, to build it more as a community center, event center, even though it'll have all the features we'll need. You know, where during the weekdays it can also be used for other organizations to do things and engage the community as a whole. And so we're trying to conceive what that looks like with the town so that they can be as excited about the project as a whole. Because our current zoning, the way it is inside a section that doesn't allow for churches. And so that's been kind of what slowed things down. Now, I think our solution of doing the community center and the things that are connected with that probably is going to work out as a good solution and still allow us to, you know, we'll be able to get away from setting up and tearing down every week. It'll be our building. We'll own the community center. It just means that it'll be a community engagement building, not just a church that'll sit empty a lot during the week. And I'm excited about that. I think that's the kind of church we want to be anyway. So we just have to figure out how to make sure everybody's excited about that in the town. So that's where that's at. In terms of actual timeline, it would all be just faking it, you know, for everybody right now to try to say, oh, I expected we'll be breaking ground. But early next spring, it seems like a possibility.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just kind of to close things out, I just want to continue to emphasize that our desire, I mean, we're sitting here in the building in Stafford, and it's been a huge blessing to the church to have this, especially for outdoor services in June and to be able to begin meeting here. Our intention is not to move Pillar Church of Dumfries permanently to Pillar Church of Stafford.
Right.
And we want to, in this time where things are a little bit crazy, we want to be flexible, and we may do some more short-term stuff where we meet some down here. Our preference is to try to really land a place in Prince William County that makes sense for us to meet there and prepare this place for the future church plant. But we don't have any intention, it's not our desire to just overall just bring the church here and then forget about Dumfries. You know, we've been working too long there, and there's a mission there. There's a need for churches there. There's a need for churches here. We look forward to a day where we can plant Pillar Church of Stafford and see Pillar Church of Stafford grow and flourish. And so I just want to continue to say that and keep it clear, because when you're meeting in a spot, you know, it's very easy to just start thinking, oh, have they shifted their attention or anything like that? We haven't. We want two churches, and we want to do the best job we can setting up to see two churches that exist and thrive. And I do feel like the Lord continues to provide for that, but we would appreciate your prayers as we try to lead through all that sort of thing. So,
Definitely.
any other questions?
No, I think you answered everything, yeah.
Well, maybe we can do this again in a few weeks as other things come up, but I just want to say how thankful I am to the church and to members like you that have been so supportive during these last few months. There's been times where I've stressed out about the decisions that we're making, but I've always known that that the church as a whole is supportive And that's a huge thing. It takes a huge weight off to know that I don't have to be afraid of, undue criticism. And I know our leaders feel that. We really love the people that make up Pillar Church and are thankful for them and want to continue to serve them well.
Thank you.